let's see. We got a few seconds, right? Let's take a look at the new gear. Let's say ranty tangential stuff about the new gear. So, as a point of recognition, I got every single one of these predictions wrong. I predicted that Wrath from the Stars would be an infantry weapon, the Natural Whisper... No, I predicted that Wrath from the Stars would be an air weapon, Natural Whisper would be an infantry weapon, and Devil's Touch would be a walker weapon. So not only are they not weapons, I believe that they are headpieces, which makes sense. Like, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but we already have the Wild Rose, and that's applicable to all of them. So it's like, yeah, duh, why would they do that? They're gonna do all the gear pieces, clearly. Like, we're gonna get to a point where, I mean, they're gonna be adding stuff in every slot. I mean, I guess this was the only thing that wasn't done. But anyway, not only did I get that their weapons wrong, I got every single one of what I thought, which troop type it would go with. I got all those wrong. Cool. Anyway, all of this stuff adds HP to you, and it each takes away one of the stats for the troop type that it goes to. One of the good stats that you get extra research for. So, like, Wrath from the Stars gives you a negative modifier to total dodge, gives you positive modifier to infantry HP, and it gives you some damage reduction, which is... This is kind of weird for infantry. It doesn't really feel right, but keep in mind that infantry have been kind of like odd man out, and they've had to go with different sets than they're used to for tier 12. All this stuff is you're gonna see it's all tier 12 equipment. So if you can't get it, don't worry about it. But infantry was already like kind of rocking some weird equipment. Had to go HP, like a Valk helmet, and going like Fearless for pants. That's weird. It doesn't jive with infantry's natural capabilities. Like, doing that on air comm is one thing. That's great. Like, there's a synergy there. But for this, I mean, honestly, for each of these, you have to keep in mind, for the Wrath from the Stars, Natural Whisper, Devil's Touch, for each of these, Valkyrie was already a very good piece of gear for that slot. So you're giving up the good things of Valkyrie in order to get a negative modifier on one of the stats that you probably rely on, and then a small positive modifier on another stat that you don't really need as much. Like, number one, look, infantry should not get hit. So it's giving you an additional 9.2 damage reduction. Infantry should not be getting hit anyway if you're doing it right. Yeah, I understand. If you're running T12 as a boss on your server, maybe you want something that's going to make your infantry a little bit less squishy. So what you're doing is you're taking away what it's good at and giving it something that it's not as good at and making it suck less. So it's just like kind of evening out the troop types. And all of this is being done because right now tier 12 air are OP. So people who got other types of tier 12 have been saying this whole time, air is way too powerful and you have to give us some capability to get our money out of the other tier 12 that we unlocked, be it infantry or walker. And walker isn't as bad as infantry, but exactly how the devs do this, they did it again. Imagine that. Their way to do that is they're not balancing infantry by actually balancing like the tear space mechanic, which is the thing that throws off the balance completely. But what they're doing is they're adding a way for spenders to get expensive gear to make them more like air, basically. Which is kind of weird. So, Wrath from the Stars is going to do damage reduction. It's going to give you the HP that you need to increase your Terra space as tier 12 player. for Walker's Natural Whisper, I can only guess the crit wither. They're expecting you to go all in on this and to kind of decrease Air's capability to crit, which is increased from their research. And now people who did not complete that research before have been going back and completing Air Crit and Air Crit 2 research now due to the onset of all this crit wither stuff. And it seems like they're putting crit wither and they're making that jive with walkers. So infantry tier 12, they're building you up to make it easier for you to hit stuff, right? Because we've got this penetration attribute that, you know, people are, you know, Stellas are running Dawn Hulls in order to do more damage, especially to air, right? Tier 12 air. And now walkers have crit wither in order to decrease the damage that air are doing to them, which is nice for them. And they have to give up accuracy. Look, honestly, that's not a... Giving up accuracy on a tier 12 is not a big deal because very few people have tier 12. So they're going to have... Generally, they're going to have at least a 40% chance to hit you anyway because they're going to be fighting... Let's check our monster stacks. I could rant while I'm doing this. Because generally, tier 12 are going to be fighting tier 11 or lower. So they're going to have a 40 or 100% chance to hit you. So it doesn't matter to a tier 12 player if they've got accuracy. And... not even that, but with the prevalence of all of these gem sets that have sure hit skills, with the comms that have sure hit skills, and with the fact that it's more accessible and attainable for players to have multiple gem slots on their gear. I mean, everybody pretty much, look, the server I'm on, I think pretty much everyone has, it's just a given they're going to have 2 gem sets. And I think that also a lot of people on my server have 3 gem slots or even 4 because they are from, you know, relatively old worlds, and we have Geist Stones in Guild Mobilization every week, and we have the capability to recycle equipment for frags, and we also have the capability to win soul gems from Galactic Battle, and we are on server with some really, really amazing teams that have multiple times gotten in the top 4, you know, which is really amazing. So there are a lot of spirit gems around. So because of that, the Walker comm, when it takes Natural Whisper, it's not a big deal, honestly. It's not a huge hit to lose accuracy. But, you know, you could say by the same point, it's not really a huge hit for the infantry player to lose dodge because they're going to... Yes, I could say I don't want to get hit at all as an infantry player, but for the reasons that I just outlined, sometimes it's impossible to avoid getting hit. And so losing dodge, it's not a big deal, honestly. And then Devil's Touch, again, more HP for the airship. Total crit, a negative modifier to crit. To me, this is a joke because airships have great crit research. And on top of that, I mean, you only need 100%. Yes, walkers are running more crit wither, and especially like you have comms coming out with crit wither, right? Like Full Metal is great. I believe his second skill also applies crit wither. And you could put crit wither on your comm by awakening. You know, that's a thing. Yeah, dodge and crit decrease by. Okay. So look, I mean, we'll see as time goes on if people are going to stack crit wither, and that's going to actually impact air. But until that day, I mean, so far it doesn't really matter. And then the penetration, honestly, this is the biggest subtle nerf of this kit here. It's not really a nerf of air comms, but it's the same way. This is how 7 Pirates nerfs things. What they do is they give extra opportunities to the thing that is not the thing that they're quote-unquote nerfing. So they didn't make airships weaker, right? They didn't balance it by making tear space based on leadership, which would make T-12 airships weaker because they would, because then they wouldn't be, like, HP wouldn't have as much to play into terror space. I mean, it wouldn't have anything to play into terror space. And right now, airship comms they're just stacking HP, because with the prevalence of breakdown from Vega, and especially now with all this penetration gap going on in the background, penetration breaks defense. So people are expecting that they're going into a fight expecting to see defense debuffs. So they're stacking HP instead. So being that they added HP to this, I mean, look, HP, they're going to put it on everything. But the thing that they really did here, honestly, so they didn't buff the airships as much, because they gave airships total penetration. And by and large, if you use this on an airship comm, I think it's statistically most probable that it's, your airship comm, your main airship comm at this point is Vega. I think we can all just agree to that. So, I mean, because the penetration stat is additive. Well, no, wait a second. The penetration stat is multiplicative, but it gets applied before the breakdown happens. Breakdown completely negates enemy defense down to the base troop defense, which is, like you can't decrease it below the number that's here. So 3. That's the base troop defense. So breakdown reduces it to that, and then if you have it at higher than level 50, then it starts doing bonus damage. So if you have it at level 50 or above your breakdown, then having any amount of penetration as from any other stat, it becomes useless, because at that point base troop value is base troop value. But if you have a Vega that's lower than 50, then theoretically you're going to get some mileage out of penetration, but not necessarily as much mileage as you get as from another comm. So making Devil's Touch penetration is really the biggest subtle nerf here, because it's not like the others where, like, look, Walker's Crit Wither jives with it. They got comms that do Crit Wither. Their gem, Cassiopeia does Crit Wither. Great. With infantry, they are squishy. Damage reduction will make them less squishy. With Devil's Touch, if you're running this on a Vega, just keep running your Valk, I feel like. I mean, I don't know. Someone could obviously nail me on this later, but I feel like, your Valkyrie would just be better. And then Wild Rose, this is your second chance to get it. And people have done math on this. I'm sorry, I'm checking my stacks. And yeah, I don't have any out. People have done math on this, but look, one Wild Rose, swapping out a Titan for a Wild Rose is not going to do anything, because you're losing so much attack that you would have on your Titan. And now instead of it, you've got a Wild Rose, which has a little bit of strength and weakness. A little bit of strength and weaken. I think it has a little bit of penetration, and it's got a little bit of attack, and and that just sums up to a whole lot of nothing. So, as you stack penetration, it's more of a thing. And honestly, I haven't looked at it since Dawn Hall got added, but that is significant. That's a significant amount of penetration that they added to the game. There are some circumstances where running 2 of these things will be better than running 2 Titans, but I mean, it's only if your attack is really, really high, like really high, and also the enemy runs a high defense build, because keep in mind, if they don't stack defense, penetration doesn't really do anything for you. Excuse me, penetration lowers the enemy defense. So you have to keep in mind what you're losing in order to get this small amount of penetration. Because at this point, if this were a Titan, a perfect Titan, then it would be at, what? It would be at 120, 150? Yeah? 130 something, whatever. It'd be like 130 something attack. This is only 46 attack. And look, the 46 strength and weaken effect, again, that's to give infantry a little bit of an edge against air, a little bit. But it's just not enough. I mean, it really is not enough to impact the battle, basically. It is if you're a really high-end player and you have this gear like really high level and you have great gems and and all of that stuff, then yeah, it can make sense in some situations when you fight a really high defense player. So it's like your guild probably needs one of those people, and then you would be in your best. It would be in your best interest to help someone in your guild who is close to being capable of wielding that properly and helping them get that gear set, especially if they have tier 12 infantry, because otherwise they really can't. They're not good. They're not good.